Throughout our time in Amphoreus, there were 3 aeons said to have been present there. Their influence could be felt throughout the story, and periodically they would make an appearance. Nanook showed up only to be briefly injured by Finan, Nous took out their calculator at the moment of the 4th instance, and Fuli checked in every once in a while. We saw all 3 of them shape and influence the Amphoreus story in one way or another. So it was quite a shock when we learned that Fuli, the Aeon of Remembrance, wasn't actually there. In fact, it turns out that they might not even exist, at least not yet. In this video, I'm going to discuss everything we learned about Fuli, their role in the universe, the schemes of the garden, and share a theory about the Enigmata that might just blow your mind. Before we go any further, I would just like to warn you that this video may contain quite a few spoilers for the 3.7 story, so consider this your obligatory spoiler warning. During the events of the 3.7 story, Herta had to interface herself with the literal god of knowledge. While it was brief, her time connected to Nous gave her a deeper understanding of how the universe functioned and the remembrance's true role within it. According to Herta, the universe functions in the way that it does, partly due to the presence of both the erudition and the remembrance. Using an analogy, Herta explains that the universe once began as a seed that then grew into a great tree with the present acting as its branches and leaves. The erudition's calculations are meant to determine which future will sprout, or rather which branch will grow from the present. Because there are so many possible ways for the present to play out, the erudition chooses to anchor a singular branch, and all other crooked and fragile branches are cut off. I suspect the pruning of potential realities or futures is really what Polka Kakamon has been doing this whole time, and this explanation of erudition's role kinda reminds me of the temporal loom in the Loki series. Anyways, despite erudition's anchor being in place, the branches and its leaves would continue to grow endlessly and multiply. If left uncontrolled, the tree, in this case the universe, would collapse under its own weight. This is where the remembrance comes in. Much like how a tree undergoes lignification to harden its branches for support, the universe has a similar mechanism, and that mechanism is referred to as memory. Fuli basically takes the events of the present that have occurred, and as they move to the past, changes them to become memory. So the present becomes supported by the memories of the past. Now, this explanation can be a bit confusing. The way I think about it is that erudition's role is to determine which future will become the present, or which is the most likely to. Once that event has played out, the present becomes the past and is solidified as memories by the remembrance. This way, the ever-growing reality that is the present won't crumble under its own weight. The newly grown and soft branches here are the present reality, while the past are lignified branches that have fused to become the trunk of the tree, so to speak. In a sense, memories act as the foundation of the universe itself and support this ever-growing reality. If every person of the present existed at the same time and was not turned into memories in the past, then reality itself might collapse. It's sort of like if every future became reality all at the same time. There would be an infinite number of trailblazers with an infinite number of baseball bats all occupying the same reality. It's a dumb way of thinking about this, but I feel it makes the most sense based on what Herta explains. I'm not a Genius Society member, so give me a bit of room here. What's interesting is that this idea of reality manifesting as a tree is one that is quite common in the Honkai universe. The imaginary tree idea is one that has been mentioned across the other Hoyoverse games, and even within Star Rail was said to be the final destination Akivili set out to reach. Of course, in this case, Herta is only using a tree as an analogy to explain the inner workings of reality, but I can't help think there is a kernel of truth here. Anyways, this explanation shows the relationship between erudition and remembrance, but what has any of this got to do with Fuli not existing? Well, because Fuli represents the entirety of the past, or rather memories, they currently don't exist in the present. Due to their nature, Fuli can only come into being at the very end of time. In order to remember the entirety of the universe itself must already exist in the past, and this can only happen at the very last point in time. So Herta states that in the present, Fuli has not yet been born, and the appearances of them that we see in the game is just them taking a glimpse of the past from the future. Their appearances is literally just them recalling stuff that has already happened. This is also why whenever we see Fuli in the present, they appear cold and distant. Their crystalline shell is an incomplete form as it has not yet been filled with the memories of the universe. Given this reveal, I can't help but wonder if it also explains something about the Enigmata. In the 3.7 story, we see the Demiurge create an Eden of Blessed Insight to store the memoria of everyone that fell to Iron Tomb. By combining the remembrance and the trailblaze, the Demiurge and the main character was able to bring back all those who were lost. If this is what Fuli is trying to accomplish at the end of time to reset the universe, it might actually explain where Enigmata comes from and why. As you know, the Enigmata represents oblivion, and there are stories of them being born from Fuli's Eden of Blessed Insight. So what if, at the moment where Fuli brings all of existence out of their Eden of Blessed Insight and into the next universe, a void is created? This void could very well be the Enigmata. Oblivion is the opposite of remembrance, and the literal opposite of memories is just emptiness. In fact, what we see as random changes to facts the Enigmata perpetuate might just be information of alternative branches of the past universe that were cut off. But that's just a crazy idea I had. Speaking of crazy ideas, if you want to be a little bit adventurous, I suggest checking out my channel. It's filled with random video of theories that don't go anywhere, so if you're interested in that, then consider checking it out and maybe subscribing. Now, even if we don't know when Fuli will truly come into being, the one thing that is certain is that they will indeed be born. Herta also reveals the mechanism around how Fuli might ascend, and it actually gives us a bit of insight into what the garden's true goals might be. You see, aeons have long been thought to be ascended mortals that embody the true meaning of their path. Nanook, for example, was said to have been an individual from Adlivun who ascended after witnessing the death and carnage that their planet experienced. Much like Nanook, Fuli also has a mortal equivalent who will ascend in the future. In the present, we don't currently know who they are, but potential candidates are referred to as the children of Anasrava. Now, these individuals are nothing more than candidates, and any one of them could be Fuli in the future. Both Cyrene and March, for example, are children of Anasrava. What we learn in the story is that the garden has actually been sacrificing these Fuli candidates, though the reason currently eludes us. We also know that the garden is fervently collecting any and all memories and stockpiling them. Up till this point, the garden was the only group aware that Fuli hasn't actually been born yet, and that they will only arrive at the very end of time. So what if the followers of remembrance are trying to artificially accelerate the arrival of their god? If Fuli can only exist when all of existence has become memory and only through a child of Anasrava, perhaps the garden is doing just that. They are collecting memories and destroying some of them, the cremators, to then force feed the children of Anasrava so that they may force their god to be born. On top of that, the more extreme of them may even consider destroying the universe itself, since if everything ends, then Fuli will have to come into existence. This might explain their actions on Amphoreus, allowing Iron Tomb to do as they please because they will ultimately get what they want if the universe ends. In fact, this is why they might have wanted to get into the tomb of the Nameless Titan to search for the Demiurge, as the Demiurge is right now the closest to Fuli. Herta even mentions that the Demiurge is the person who has traveled the furthest down the path of remembrance, at least at this point in time. So this may be what the garden is actually planning to do, but it's just speculation on my end. Now, before I end this video, I want to point out one last thing, and it's related to finality. The fact that Fuli only exists at the end of time is eerily similar to the law that we have heard about finality. Terminus is also said to only exist at the end of the universe and is traveling back in time as well. I can't help but think that there is some connection between these two, but I won't be covering this topic right now. Think of it as a hint of a future topic for discussion. With that though, I'll end the video here. Do you think Enigmata could be the remnant of the past universe, and is the garden really trying to force the birth of Fuli? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found the video entertaining, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and as usual, have a nice day.